Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. Please subscribe if you're not already. Today, I want to talk about personality types, and I am so intrigued by this topic. I feel like anything to do with social skills, personality traits, the study of humans, emotional intelligence, body language, anything in this area to me is very interesting. I think growing up believing I was an introvert, maybe that's why I am intrigued with it, because the discomfort of being social has always made me want to step out of that. I've actually come to realize that I'm not an introvert, I am an ambivert. We're going to discuss the three different types: introvert, extrovert, and ambiverts, some of the positives of each type, and also I want to talk about how we can appreciate and embrace our personalities, but to not accept them for what they are. And we'll get into that after. But as you know, you don't have to be a scientist to know that your brain is very complex, and there's different parts of it. One of the parts is the neocortex, which takes up most of the mass of the brain. And this area is where conscious thought, our language is formed, and our motor skills. I mean, there's other things, but those are the main ones. These are just some little facts. That area of your brain produces the hormone dopamine. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone, and we are driven off of that hormone. And so each and every individual has different levels of dopamine-fueled stimulation going on in your head. And basically an example of that would be like, if a person has really high stimulation going on in their brain, they tend to be introverts, because they already have so much stimulation going on that the outside source is, you're not fueled by an outside source to stimulate what's already there. Because of the outside stimulation, it causes them to have anxiety and be overwhelmed and overstimulated. I think it also has to do with your upbringing. I think that if you were young, at a young age, brought up and kind of nurtured in your being an introvert and not being able to be social and not forced to be social, I think just social anxiety and being awkward with people would enhance that, rather than just being like a stimulation factor. It'd be like, I'm just socially awkward, I don't know how to act, and on top of already it's just too much stimulation for me. And then the people who have really low levels of stimulation of the dopamine tend to be extroverts, because they socially just want to go out and get that stimulation. It makes them feel good. And then an ambivert is basically pretty balanced levels of stimulation. So it's, you tend to go out and you tend to need that stimulation, but you don't necessarily need it. So if you have high levels of stimulation, the need to be social is not as relevant. Just a little, background for you, a little science, this is what I was researching. So yeah, let's get into each personality type. So again, all my life I thought I was an introvert, but I've come to realize that I am an ambivert. And basically, like what I just said, the stimulation for me is like, I'm an ambivert because I find myself loving my alone time. I've always felt very, a little more shy and reserved and quiet, but then there are times where I just love to be around people and I do well with people, and I'm goofy and I'm social, but I really pull back a lot too. So I'm definitely an ambivert, but I am on more of the scale of an introvert. So I don't believe that there's just, three. I think it's extremes, the introvert, extrovert, ambivert, but then there's in between that too. So I think on the scale, I am ambivert, introvert. And for instance, my husband, I believe, is an ambivert extrovert, if that makes sense. I want to discuss the three like main good qualities in each. Introverts tend to be independent. They are able to recharge themselves rather than rely on someone else to recharge their energy. Tend to be great listeners. They pay attention to detail, and their perspectives tend to be more valuable because they are so observant. For instance, let's take a classroom. An introvert would be the back seat, or even further, they'd be against the wall, and there's the middle row and the front row. So then the ambivert would be in the middle, the extrovert's in the front. And so an introvert is all the way in the back, just observing everything going on in the room. They're, you know, they're not in anyone's way. They're quiet. They're just focusing on the details. They're able to see everything from a different perspective, while the ambivert is able to see what's in front of them and aside from them. And the extrovert in the front row is able to see the teacher and I guess their front row. And so like there's different perspectives and levels of like, you know, attention to detail and observing. So I don't know, I think that's a cool way of looking at how, you know, they are able to just observe maybe something that an introvert wouldn't, I mean, an extrovert wouldn't, or an ambivert wouldn't. And maybe an ambivert would be able to observe something that an introvert wouldn't, because you're not right on that same row, do you know? Great qualities about an extrovert. Extrovert are great in conversation. They're great with people. They are super social, and just, they tend to do well in, I guess, life and in their careers, because a lot of who we are in a lot of careers tend to do with networking and meeting with people, and we're just social creatures. So they can do well, and they also go out a lot, and they also meet different people. So they're constantly, they just have a good variety of different outlooks. They tend to have less fear. Sometimes they're funny. They're very expressive, and they just have a lot of charisma, which is great. And then the ambivert is, what's great about ambiverts is that they're very balanced. They work well solo, and then they also work well in groups. They're comfortable around a range of different personalities. And another good thing is that they know when to speak, but then they also know when to dial it back. So I think it balances a big thing for an ambivert. I want to get into what I am a little bit and just discuss my experiences. So basically growing up, I was always very shy, always fearful of people, fearful of conversations, fearful of what may happen. I just relied on my mom to speak for me. When other children would be out playing together, or I would want to be inside playing with my dolls or my toys and just be alone. But then I also found that as a child and growing up, I also liked to have a social life, but in a very small setting, in a very, you know, like controlled environment and with certain people. I also was very goofy. I was able to connect with certain people. I tended to gravitate to people with big personalities, or people that were able to pull my personality out. And I think that still stays true to this day, that I connect with people of different types, but I do tend to gravitate to people who pull my personality out, who kind of like have a weird humor. I don't know, that's just who I am. And so being an ambivert, you are able to connect with quiet people and, you know, loud people, but you also need your space. So that's for me, like, I would be so happy just staying home, which I don't typically do anyway, rather than going out. That's why I think I'm more of an introvert. But then it's like, I do like to go out. Like, I do like to go have drinks. I like to like be around, you know, women and just like hang out and be in a social environment. Like, I feel like some people would be like, no way, you're an extrovert. Like, you are so goofy and like talkative and social. Like, you just do well. Like, what do you mean? And then there's some people would be like, no, she's an introvert. Like, she doesn't talk. It really depends on my environment. It really depends on the people. It depends on the setting, you know, what's going on, how I'm feeling that day. It kind of sucks if I'm in a weird mood, because then I come off like a complete brat, you know. Those of you who are introverts, I just want to let you know that I completely understand where you are, like how you feel. Oftentimes I think that people really downplay and really like look down on introverts because they're so quiet and often looked at as either like weird or just awkward. But I can totally relate to both, and I see both sides. So if you're an introvert and you're feeling insecure and you're feeling like, I don't want to be like this, I don't know what's wrong with me, is there something wrong with me? You know, I just want to say to you, like, there is nothing wrong with you. You were made that way. And that goes for all like personality types. You were made that way, and we all need each other. And if we were all introverts and all quiet, no one would talk. And if we were all extroverts, everyone would be talking over each other. So we need each other. And ambiverts just are that wedge between, you know, that the bridge between them, or we're able to relate to people. We're all able to socialize. So we're all unique in our own ways. So don't be upset with yourself. And that's what I want to get into too. I think it's important to just really embrace what you have and who you are. But I also think it's dangerous to stay put in where you are what you're labeled. Like, okay, I'm an introvert, so I guess I'll just be an introvert in my life and I won't, you know, ever socialize. Or I'm an extrovert, and so I'm never going to connect with an introvert. I'm never going to, you know, dial it back and let someone else take the front seat. I think we all have an area where we need to grow personally and socially. So that's what I also want to talk about. But for you introverts, I do want to name some amazing, successful people that hopefully can encourage you to just say like, all right, I may be socially awkward, I may be an introvert, I may be quiet, but these are the people that have been super successful. And so we have here Albert Einstein, Abraham Lincoln, Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, Rosa Parks, Michael Jordan, Meryl Streep, Barack Obama, and I didn't put this person's name, but it is the author of Harry Potter. So some of these people are very creative, like Steven Spielberg, Harry Potter. Clearly they all have creativity. And then we have people like Meryl Streep and Michael Jordan, who are just super talented. And then you have people who are considered to be introverts that are the president of the United States, Barack Obama and Abraham Lincoln. Barack Obama and Abraham Lincoln were presidents. They had so many speeches that they had to do and so many people that they had to meet with, and you know, they had a big responsibility. So these people are considered introverts. So I just thought that was really encouraging and amazing to see, like, just because you may feel very quiet and alone does not mean you're not capable of so much. And it goes for any of the personality types, but I specifically wanted to encourage anyone who's an introvert. Why I said we should embrace and appreciate our personality type is because we were made for a specific reason, and we all need each other. But we were also blessed with gifts and abilities, and so we have to embrace them and figure out what they are and really tune into that. But at the same time, I feel like to accept what we are and who we are for what it is, or the stereotype, is not very smart. I think that we as humans have to continually evolve and continually reflect and grow. I think that staying in that box of I am an introvert, or I am an ambivert, or I'm an extrovert, and that is what I am, and I'm gonna stay like that, may be a disadvantage. I mean, I feel like for extroverts, maybe you can, I don't know, tell me if I have this wrong, because I'm not an extrovert in any way that I can say I understand, or maybe your frustrations. I would like to know, like, maybe for an extrovert, do you guys have any struggles? Do you feel like being an extrovert is draining, or it's you have something to live up to, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with that? Do you feel like you give too much of yourself, or you give too much of your information because you are very talkative? Like, what are the drawbacks of being an extrovert? I'd like to know, and how, like, what are the struggles of that? Sounds like me. I love being comfortable. I love my own quiet time. I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I don't want to be forced to do anything. I don't want to be out of the comfort zone. I don't want to be speaking in public. I think past videos, you can tell how quiet I am and shy. But I think I've broken out of that a lot. And the thing about it is, like, I could remain the way I am and never grow, or I can say I'm an introvert, ambivert introvert, but I want to expand myself. I want to connect with more people. I want to say I was scared of this, or I wasn't able to do this at one time, but now I can. And so I think it's important for every single personality trait to, like, view that in themselves. Like, if Meryl can do it, maybe I can do it. That's really it. I just wanted to discuss personality types. I would really love to hear from you guys and see where you're at, if you know what type you are, what you learned or a challenge you faced. Maybe you've succeeded and overcome. Maybe I'll do a part 2 to this as far as like maybe some tools or some kind of direction on how we can tweak our personalities, and maybe exercises that we can do to like enhance and grow from them. I think that would be interesting. I want to do a little bit more research and get back to you. So share your thoughts. I would absolutely I would just love to hear it. So this to me, like I said, is so interesting. Please share your thoughts. Comment, like, and subscribe if you're not already. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.